Hello, future moms and dads. Hope you guys are doing well. Really excited about this lecture number 15, in your syllabus, in your lecture notes. Lecture 15, corporal consequences for children. Um, I've been able to use this lecture to help many parents in really establishing a correction with consequences that's really going to help the baby, the child, the toddler, I should say, and the child as they grow. So if you get your lecture notes out, we'll go ahead and begin. And I want to talk about the very first introductory statement there in your notes. It says, discipline is the training of the will to do right. It takes instruction, and I believe instruction is education and guidance, and correction. I believe that's understanding and consequences. Now, so let's go back over this. Discipline is the training of the will to do what is right. It takes instruction and correction. Instruction is the education and the guidance. Correction is the understanding and the consequences. And you put that all together, you're going to have discipline is the training of the will to do what is right. Let that sink in for a moment, because as parents, that's what we are disciplining our children to train their will to do what is right. We have to break that will, and we're going to show you how that's done through the 10 commandments of corporal consequences. So now these, remember our test, when you fill in the blank, you got to have the exact words. So as I go through this, let me emphasize the statements, because you're going to do a fill in the blank here. Look at number 1. Clarify with your child what will happen if disobedience occurs. I believe this is critical for a child to be disciplined properly. You have to clarify with your child what will happen if disobedience occurs. Know that statement. I'll take a word out of that statement you're going to have to put in. I think the key word there is the word clarify. Does the child understand what will take place if they do this action or don't do an action? Let me give you a few points under this. A, it will create security. See, this actually is a very secure thing, that a child knows. That child knows the boundaries that are around them. Oh, they're going to always test every fence, every wall that you put up around a child. The child will test it. But the testing of it and knowing that, oh, mom and dad mean business, actually brings security to the child. They know how far they can go. And that's very important. It will create security. Number 2, it gives them personal responsibility. Okay, so if I tell my child, you shall not go into the street. All right, hey, son, what did I just say? Don't go in the yard. No, that's not what I said. Son, what did I say? Don't go in the driveway? No. What did I say? Don't go in the street. That's right. Don't go into the street. If you do go into the street, what will happen? I don't know. Well, let me clarify it for you, son. If you go into the street, it'll be a 2 SWAT spanking. Do you understand? Would you repeat what I just said? If I go in the street, I will get 2 SWAT spanking. That's right. Now think about this. You have clarified what will happen. It'll create security. It gives them personal response. They are now responsible for not going into the street. Number 3, say what you mean what you say. You have to do that. If you're clarifying the consequences, you've got to stick with it. You can't have exceptions all the time. Large D, question the child that they understand. Have them repeat the command to you. That's just what I just did with you guys in that illustration. Have them repeat the command. Large E, be in complete agreement with your spouse. You guys got to be on the same page, or otherwise the child knows which spouse to go to, which parent to go to. So you have to be in complete agreement. Hey, listen, I told Luke that he cannot go in the street, and if he does, it's a 2 SWAT offense. Honey, did you get that? Yeah. You should have made it 3. Yeah, well, I just made it 2, but we're on the same page. Yeah. Establish spanking offenses and policies. You do this, this is what's going to happen. This is our spanking offense and our policy for that. I'm telling you, it is amazing. If we just stop the lecture right now, just doing number 1 is amazing. By the way, doesn't it work at college? I truly believe that many of the problems we have with college students is us, administration, did not clarify what the consequences would be if you did such and such. Most students will not be a problem if they know their boundary and they know that we mean business. It solves a lot of problems, and it really does produce security. Number 2, get alone with your child. I think this is very important. Now, we had 3 sons. And whenever we spanked one of our children, we never did it publicly in front of the other boys or whatever. It was always amazing to me after one of the boys got spanked how well the other 2 boys behaved themselves for a period of time, Get alone with your child. Do as much teaching and correcting at home as possible. Hey, can I tell you something? The place to raise and train your kids is not Olive Garden. Don't try to be super parent at Walmart. It does not work. You train your child at home, not in the public. And matter of fact, you're going to get in trouble if you do and practice the things biblically that I'm going to share with you. But if you're going to do them in public, there's going to be problems. You do not discipline your children publicly. Now, maybe verbally you may have to say something or whatever when we get home or whatever, but get alone with your child. And then in the home, you should be alone with them too. Do as much teaching and correcting in the home as possible. Number 2, or large B, separate them from the other siblings. I think that's very important. Large C, take them to a quiet room. I put down possibly your bedroom because that's what we did. I don't think that has to be the room, but it would be our bedroom. I would say, Ben, go back to Mom and Dad's room. I'll be there in a minute. And I did that so I could cool down probably just as much as anything. Roman numeral 3, use a paddle. Use a paddle. This is very important to note. Never did I spank my boys with these. Never. Or never my foot or my leg. I never kicked my children. I never slapped my children. I never hit my children. Whenever we gave them corporal consequences, which is physical consequences, it was always with a paddle. We used some different things, a paint stir at one point of their lives and different things like that. But after a while, we had a paddle. And they knew I could just look over at the fireplace where the paddle was. And I said, hey, do I need to? And just look over there. And that took care of everything. So use a paddle, wood of some sort, not your hand. I put down a paint stirring paddle. Use the same one as much as possible. Use the paddle on the part of their anatomy God made for such things. There's only one part of their body that we ever spanked them. That was their bottom. And it's got the padding. It's there for that purpose. And I'm just telling you, we never spanked our children on their hands or their arms, their face, their body, anywhere except for their bottom was the only place. And you know what? I got a large D because the Bible says it. You know what? There may be some blueness sometimes. Proverbs 20:30, the blueness of the wound cleanses the way evil. So do stripes, the inward parts of the belly. So there could be sometimes it isn't severe or anything like that. Dr. Shelley, did you ever report anyone that their child was abused? Yes. They got marks on their arms, on their wrist, on their neck, on their face, on their legs. Something's wrong, and that's abuse, and and those parents need to be reported. It wasn't often or anything like, I don't even remember right now, but I am sure there was probably blueness to the wound sometimes when we spanked our boys. Number 4, Roman number 4, never touch your child while you're out of control. Never touch your child while you're out of control with your emotions towards them. Send them to the room to think about what they have done and for you to calm down yourself. Cool, calm, and collective. No emotion leaking through. They have done wrong. and there is a penalty for them doing wrong. That must be the focus of the thing, not your anger, not, oh, you've shamed the Shetler family. No, 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 no. They've done wrong and there's a penalty that must be focused. That must be the focus. Roman numeral 5, they must not fight you or become defiant during the consequences. And that'll happen at some point. They'll start becoming defiant and fight. Double the amount if they do. Son, do we need 4 swats for that? No, Daddy. Okay, then let's go. Let's get this taken care of, Stay steadfast. Don't quit. You may have a strong-willed child. You've got to keep working at it. You are bigger. You are stronger. You are smarter now. But it won't be later on. You better. Betimes is a great old English word. That we are to chasten them betimes. Betimes means early. I think it means early 2 things. Early in their life and early in the incident. As soon as something happens, try to betimes do it early to correct it. But I think also betimes has to do with early in their life that we correct them. Spankings should become methodical in their procedure. Now, this is really a good point. In other words, we're not making this the most dramatic, I can't believe, son, that you did this. This is terrible. No, you know what? What's the policy? What's our family rule? You just violated it, didn't you? Go back to the room. No. Go back to the room. I'll be there in a minute. Okay, so it's methodical in its procedure. I guarantee you do it this way, you won't have many spankings. We very rarely spanked our children after they were 5, 6 years old. Because we did it early and we did it consistently and we did it methodically. You know what? They knew our yay meant yay and our nay meant nay. They understood. We made them clarify. We clarified to them the consequences. And I'm telling you, and I think I had a couple strong-willed boys. But if you do it this way, it is all the difference in the world. Roman numeral 6. Have them tell you why they are getting the consequences before you administer to them the spanking. I think that's very important. Have them tell you why this is happening to them. They need to say to you, because I lied, because I did this. And I might as well say this right now about the lying thing. Marilee and I decided early that we just felt that the most important character trait we wanted in our boys' lives was honesty. So here's what we did. We had spanking offenses in the home. However, if the boys lied about what they did, they would get double the spanking. So if they did something disrespectful at school or whatever, came home and lied about it, and they knew we would talk to the teacher, they came home and lied about it, they would get double the spanking. Because if you get trouble at school, you get trouble at home. But it didn't matter. Wherever the offense was, if they lied about the offense, we would double the spanking. I'm going to tell you something. Very rarely did we ever have to double the spanking. I'm not telling you we never did, but very rarely did we ever have to do that because our boys knew, it doesn't pay to lie. And isn't that a great lesson to teach your children? So have them tell you why they are getting the consequences before you administer to them. Number 7, pray with them. Pray with them at the end. I'd always do that with all my boys. Whenever I gave them a spanking, I always prayed. Have them confess to the Lord their sin and ask for forgiveness from him. And that was just, you know what? I look back at those. Those were really good memories now. And those were tough. It is hard to spank your children. But the way that we handled it made it a very special bond. I always had the boys pray at the end and ask God for forgiveness. And then number 8, leave the offense in the room. This is big. It's over when you both walk out. After we would pray, I would always hug my boy and I'd say, hey, son, we walk out the door. It's over now, okay? It's done. And you know what? I didn't bring it back up. They just got the consequences for it. It was paid for. we're done. By the way, that's why I think spanking is much more loving and humane than this timeout stuff and the corner stuff and grounding them. After 2 days, I don't even know why they're grounded. You know what? We dealt with it. We resolved it. We gave them the spanking. They walked out. They were done. Leave the offense in the room. It's over when you both walk out, clean slate. Number 9, attitude should be included as much as action in giving of consequences. I think this is good. Marilee and I did not just discipline their wrong actions. We also disciplined wrong attitudes. Son, you need to change your attitude. If you don't change your attitude, you will get a 3 SWAT spanking. So what did I just say? I need to change my attitude. That's right. Or what will happen? What will happen? Ben, I'll get 3 SWATs. Okay, let's see the attitude change. And I'll tell you, when you handle it on a methodical way all the time, you say, Dr. Shelley, you can't tell me this stuff works. It does. This is exactly what works. Attitude should be included as much as action in the giving of consequences. Then number 10, be consistent. Even if the same thing happens 5 minutes later, go through the whole process again. And I know your emotional level may go up, but you can't let it. Be consistent. But when they're real young, they're going to challenge you. The day that you break your child's will, you may give them 5, 6 spankings in that one day. And finally, they realize you mean business, and they're not going to push that any longer. Even if the same thing happens 5 minutes later, go through the whole process again.